And there's all of the driver's controls permanently fitted, painted up, greased up, lubed up, and all working nicely. Well, they feel like they're working and they look like they're working. The gears all slot in nicely. The clutch works. You depress the clutch pedal. The drive shaft can be turned. I even put in a passenger seat, an old Blitz truck one, with the fold down back in case you need to climb through. And I even put in a little raised floor plate for shorter people so they're not dangling their legs. Accelerator works nicely, running along there underneath the drive shaft. The big test will be once she's running. Hopefully everything will work. So this is the framework for the boxing of the engine and drive shaft. First of the safety loops over the drive shaft there, another one will probably go down the front there. I'll cut a check plate for this top portion here to stand on because that's the right height for the person standing out the cupola when it's the turret's on. I'll have to put captive nuts on the back of this portion here at the front. It'll be the last piece to go on and I won't be able to access the nuts behind it. But yeah, all the purists will be screaming, what about the turret basket and turning the turret? Well, the turret was never going to turn. The hull was too damaged. The whole top had been blown out. It's all been welded back in with steel pieces. So this is going to be a turret facing forward mobile vehicle that looks good from the outside. And that was always the intention. Should be good. Well, the auto elect turned up. In fact, he turned up 3 days ago. And he's been up to his elbows in tank for the last 3 days. There he is. How you going, Andrew?
Good, thanks, Ronnie. How are you?
All right, mate. So yeah, we've almost got this to the stage of turning over to check that the starter and everything's kosher and working correctly. So we'll see what happens when we start pressing buttons. How many times have you hit your head?
Only about 3 times so
Yeah.
far.
What'd you find out when you hit your head?
It's the only machines I ever work on that it hurts.
so it's built like a Sherman tank, you reckon?
Yeah.
Start, you bastard. Good Australian product. So as can be seen by all of the absorbent material on the floor, I was finally able to bleed the fuel system. This lift pump here was able to get fuel up to the fuel pump, which is that little thing there, but it wouldn't push any more fuel through the fuel pump to these lines going to the two filters on the side of the block and then back into the injector pump. Presumably that fuel pump needs to be turning over as you crank the engine or something. So I made a little adapter to go from the input side of that fuel pump into this output line here, and then after putting over $500 worth of diesel into the tank to get the level right up the top above the engine, with some gravity assist I was able to fill the lines and get diesel to the injector pump. And then once we hooked everything up again to this fuel pump, cracking the lines, injector lines, getting the air out of the injector pump, it finally coughed into life. So now that the fuel system is bled, should be good. Here's the air intake ducting that I've come up with and fitted two electric fans to assist the main hydraulic engine fan in bringing cool air in. Once the deck's on, all this work of art will be hidden. So Andrew's still here. I reckon we'll probably get it buttoned up today. Hopefully we'll see it move. Hopefully it'll steer. That's the main thing I'm holding my breath about. Well, first test drive, I don't suppose you expect everything to go perfect right from the start, but the steering is kind of working, but needs to be adjusted on a lot more. I've got to pull them right back hard and it only just slowly turns. But the main issue it's got is it's running out of fuel or fuel pressure. It loses all its power after, I don't know, 30 seconds or so of driving. And yeah, you got your foot flat to the boards and it's only just idling over. Well, the sun's getting low and I can't keep mucking around with this out here. I'll have to hook up the A-frame and get the tractor onto it and put it back in the workshop and try and work out why it's starving of fuel. Well, this is what happens when you're thinking about things at 3:30 in the morning. That was the moon, and this is my workshop with the Sherman back in there again. Here's the third iteration of the fuel system. I got rid of the hand primer or lift pump that was there and replaced it with this primary filter and put in an electric fuel pump. Won't be necessary to have it running all the time because a mechanical fuel pump will pull fuel through it. So this really is only necessary to bleed the system if it gets air in it. Primary fuel filter there goes up through to those two secondary filters up there and then into the injector pump. So now hopefully Steve won't yell at me. So before I put the cover on the drive shaft tunnel, I just thought I'd show you what I've done inside there. There's the front safety loop, and there's the rear one, and this front one also doubles as a block off for any of the hot air coming down the drive shaft from the engine bay. I've boxed in the engine, put sound deadener and heat protection in, and then these panels here will cover up those openings with captive nuts on the back so they can be removed. It's come together quite nicely. I'm pretty happy with it, and start buttoning everything up now. Found the freshly painted engine was creating a lot of smoke as it got hot, but eventually it cleared up when it all burnt off. Well, I'm going to put the turret on soon, so I thought I'd show you the inside before it all gets covered up. That's the boxing covering up the engine and the floor for the turret rider standing up in the cupola. The drive shaft is all covered in. Driver's controls are all done. I did a modification to the right tiller because it didn't feel the same as the left when I was driving it. put a filler on the gearbox, Grant style filler, so I can get the correct oil level. Passenger seat there and the driver's seat with their fold down backrests. Access to the batteries right there, or if you need to jump start it or whatever, and access to the air cleaner right there. We'll see how we go getting this turret on. I've already got the studs in the turret ring to drop the turret down to line up the holes. So yeah, should look good once the turret's on. See how it performs with a bit of extra weight. Well, that's pretty much a wrap for working on this M4 A1 Sherman to make it a running vehicle for AusArmourfest events and any other reason they need a running Sherman. I've still got to apply some markings yet, waiting for the stencils to be made up in town. Really enjoyed myself, and I must have enjoyed myself because I'd often wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning and wouldn't be able to get back to sleep again. I would be thinking about what I want to do on this vehicle. What I should say also is how good it was working for the owner and Kurt. They're really good people to work for. They gave me complete free rein, no demands on timings or what parts I was using or how I was doing things. So thank you to them. They're good people, as are all the people up there at the Australian Armour and Artillery Museum. I didn't do this for any financial gain. I did it purely for the love of it. Who in Australia can say they worked on a Sherman and got it running? There's only 5 in the country and the other 4 are pretty much untouchable. So that's one I can tick off my bucket list. So this will be available as a ride vehicle at AusArmourfest, so get your tickets. And I hope you have as much fun riding in this vehicle as I had working on it. Other than having to fix things pretty much all the time, this is unquestionably and undoubtedly the worst part about owning and driving old tanks.